Welcome back, listeners, to the deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about a case that's truly chilling. Yeah, and just imagine if you can escaping from a serial killer and running barefoot for 5 miles in the dead of night. And that's just a glimpse into the horror that Selena Elms experienced back in 1982. So we're going to be digging into the life and crimes of Michael Eugene Sharp,
Oh, wow.
a Texas serial killer who,
Yeah.
despite convictions and a confession, left behind a web of the answered questions.
It's a case that, really makes you wonder how well you can ever truly get to know someone.
Yeah,
Sharp went from what looked like a totally ordinary life, a family man with a decent job,
right.
to a convicted murderer. And even after his execution back in '97, the full extent of his crimes is still a mystery.
Exactly. And, we've got court records and news articles, even a detective's personal notes to try and piece together what happened.
Wow.
Our mission, if you will, is to understand not just the what of Sharp's crimes,
Right.
but the why, what led him down this dark path, and how do we grapple with the fact that he may have taken secrets to his grave.
What's really interesting to me is the contrast between his outward appearance and his hidden depravity.
Right.
He was known as a quiet, hard-working man,
Yeah.
seemingly devoted to his family. Yet lurking beneath the surface was this capacity for violence that would ultimately shatter the lives of multiple families.
Absolutely. So let's start with his early life. On the surface, it seemed pretty unremarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Steady job as a tool pusher in the oil fields, owned a home, husband, and father. Not exactly the profile that screams serial killer.
Right, not at all. Although some experts believe that there are often subtle signs that we just might miss.
Oh, interesting.
Looking back, a key incident stands out, his 1975 conviction for aggravated robbery.
You're talking about the incident where he broke into a woman's house, tied her up, and stole her belongings?
Exactly. Aggravated robbery involves the use of a weapon or a threat of violence. It's a very serious offense. And this incident foreshadowed the darkness that lay ahead. It suggested that he was capable of violence and willing to violate the sanctity of someone's home.
Right. And, he was sentenced to 15 years, but paroled after only 4.
Wow.
Relocated to Odessa, Texas, where he seemingly started over. But it wasn't too long before tragedy struck. June 14, 1982 marks the beginning of what we know as the Broadway Elms murders.
This is where Sharp's path takes a truly horrifying turn.
Yeah.
He encountered 31-year-old Brenda Broadway and her 2 daughters, 14-year-old Selena and 8-year-old Christy Elms. At a car wash in Kermit, Texas, armed with a knife, he forced them into his truck and drove them to a secluded area.
It's hard to even imagine the terror they must have felt.
I know.
What followed was a brutal attack that ended with Brenda and Christy being murdered. Thankfully, Selena was able to escape.
Selena's escape is really a testament to just human resilience.
Yeah.
She was naked and barefoot, and she ran 5 grueling miles through the Texas heat. Eventually, she reached an oil field,
Wow.
where workers found her and called the police. And despite the trauma, she provided crucial details about Sharp and the crime scene.
Her escape was pivotal.
Absolutely.
The community went on high alert. Tips were pouring in, quickly leading to Sharp being identified. But by then he'd fled,
Oh, no.
hoping to make it to Louisiana by bus.
He thought he could get away.
Yeah.
But his escape was short-lived. He was apprehended on that very bus,
Wow.
without incident, and brought back to Texas to face charges.
While Sharp was awaiting trial, another unsettling detail emerged. Investigators started looking into other unsolved cases in the area, specifically the murders of William McNew and Tammy Lee Davis.
Both McNew and Davis were young adults working at the same oil drilling company at Sharp. They were found murdered earlier that year. Their bodies were discovered in shallow graves near Andrews, Texas.
So there was a connection, but not enough solid evidence to directly link him to their deaths.
That's right. At that time, the investigation hit a dead end. But before the authorities could really delve deeper, another disappearance rattled the community.
The case of Blanca Guerrero.
Yes.
A young pregnant woman who vanished in May of '82. Witnesses reported seeing her get into a truck that matched the description of Sharp's.
The similarities were striking.
Yeah.
And it further deepened the suspicion surrounding Sharp.
Right.
It seemed like the Broadway Elms murders might just be the tip of a very dark iceberg.
And, as if the case wasn't already complex enough, things take an even more unexpected turn. While in jail awaiting trial for the Broadway Elms murders, Sharp reportedly undergoes a profound religious conversion.
He became a born-again Christian,
Wow.
a development that would play a surprising role in the next chapter of this saga.
And this is where we'll pick up in part 2. Join us as we uncover how this religious conversion became intertwined with Sharp's confession, leading to the discovery of Blanca Guerrero's body. We left off with Michael Eugene Sharp behind bars awaiting trial for the Broadway Elms murders, and his newfound faith adding a layer of complexity to this already disturbing case.
Yeah, it's a development that really makes you think about the psychology of Sharp. Here's a man accused of these horrible acts, and yet he's embracing religion,
Right.
seeking redemption. It just really makes you question the sincerity of his conversion.
Right. Was it a genuine spiritual awakening or a calculated manipulation?
Yeah.
The detective assigned to the case saw an opportunity.
Okay.
He decided to appeal to Sharp's newfound faith in hopes of getting a confession.
Interesting tactic.
Yeah.
So this detective was known for his unconventional tactics.
Mm-hmm.
He urged Sharp to consider the weight of his sins, to seek true forgiveness by confessing to any other crimes he might have committed.
And incredibly, it worked. Sharp drew a map that led authorities straight to the body of Blanca Guerrero,
Wow.
the pregnant woman who had disappeared months earlier.
That's a huge break.
Yeah, it was a major breakthrough, confirming suspicions that Sharp was responsible for more than just the Broadway Elms murders.
So this confession was a significant victory for the prosecution.
Yeah,
But it also opened a Pandora's box.
right.
Sharp promised to reveal more, hinting at other potential victims. However, news of the confession and Sharp's cooperation leaked to the media.
And feeling betrayed and fearing repercussions for his family,
Oh, wow.
Sharp clammed up, refusing to give any further information. He took those potential secrets to his grave.
That's just adding another layer of tragedy to this whole case.
It is.
It left investigators, and more importantly, the families of potential victims, with this haunting sense of incompleteness.
Right.
The possibility of other unsolved crimes linked to Sharp continues to linger.
Let's talk about the trials. The first one, for the murder of 8-year-old Christy Elms,
Yeah.
was particularly harrowing. Selena, the surviving sister, had to face her attacker in court and relive that horrific night.
Selena's testimony was just gut-wrenching,
I can't even imagine.
detailing the events of that June evening and identifying Sharp as the perpetrator. Her courage in the face of that trauma was instrumental in securing a guilty verdict.
But here's where the legal complexities of the case come in. Despite the conviction, Sharp's sentence for Christie's murder was reduced to life in prison due to a legal technicality.
Oh, wow.
Sharp's attorney successfully argued that the charge should be reduced,
Okay.
leading to a sentence that many in the community considered inadequate for such a brutal crime.
Right, there was a public outcry.
There was.
People felt that a life sentence wasn't enough for taking the life of a child. And that outrage really set the stage for the second trial.
Exactly.
This time for the murder of Brenda Broadway.
In this trial, Selena once again took the stand, bravely recounting the details of her mother's murder.
Wow.
The prosecution, driven by a desire to secure justice for Brenda and sensitive to the community's outrage over the previous sentence, sought the death penalty.
It makes sense.
The jury's verdict was swift and decisive. Guilty. Michael Eugene Sharp was sentenced to death. He was now on death row awaiting execution. But he didn't give up.
Oh, really?
He continued to appeal his sentence, maintaining his innocence.
Sharp's appeals went on for years.
They did.
And they focused on legal technicalities and procedural issues, but his claims of innocence seemed to contradict his earlier confession,
Right.
which led to further questions about his motivations.
Was he truly remorseful for his actions? Was his religious conversion genuine, or was it all a facade? We'll delve into those questions and explore the lingering mysteries surrounding Michael Eugene Sharp in Part 3. So we've been following the twisted path of Michael Eugene Sharp, from his seemingly normal life to his conviction for the Broadway Elms murders, his confession that led to the discovery of Blanca Carrera's body, and his subsequent death sentence.
Yeah.
Yet, even after his execution in 1997, a shroud of mystery remains.
Yeah, his refusal to disclose more information about other possible victims leaves us with a chilling thought. How many more families might be out there forever burdened by these unanswered questions?
It's a heavy question, and it really speaks to the ripple effect of these kinds of crimes. The impact extends far beyond the immediate victims and their families.
Right. It leaves this scar on the entire community, a sense of unease that can linger for years.
It really does. And, it raises questions about the nature of evil itself. Was Sharp's transformation through religion genuine?
Right.
Or was it a calculated act of manipulation?
It's hard to say. We may never know for sure.
The detective who got the confession from Sharp, he believed in his religious conversion.
Oh, really?
He felt Sharp was really trying to find forgiveness, but ultimately fear and a desire to protect his family led to his silence.
It's a fascinating psychological dilemma. If his remorse was genuine, wouldn't full disclosure have been the ultimate act of repentance?
Yeah.
Or could his silence have been a way to try and salvage some peace for his family, after everything that happened?
It's a question that continues to be debated, but let's shift our focus for a second to the two unsolved cases that continue to be linked to Sharp, the murders of William McNew and Tammy Lee Davis.
Right. These cases are still open with Sharp considered a prime suspect. He worked with both victims, and their bodies were found in a similar way to Blanca Guerrero. However, the lack of concrete evidence has kept investigators from definitively connecting Sharp to their deaths.
I wonder if, with the advancements in forensic technology, there's hope that these cold cases could be revisited and potentially solved.
There's always a possibility.
Yeah.
DNA analysis has really changed criminal investigations. It's possible that new evidence could come up that finally provides answers for the families of McNew and Davis.
That would be a glimmer of hope in an otherwise incredibly dark story. This deep dive into the life and crimes of Michael Eugene Sharp has been unsettling, to say the least.
It is. It's a stark reminder that evil can wear many masks.
Yeah.
Sharp's seemingly ordinary life hid a darkness that really shocked those who knew him. And his case challenges our assumptions about who's capable of such violence.
Right.
It really underscores the complexities of the human psyche.
It also leaves us with this profound sense of sadness, not just for the victims and their families, but for the lingering mysteries and the knowledge that some questions might never be answered.
What we can take away from this deep dive is the importance of remembering the victims. Their stories should not be forgotten. And, while the legal process has run its course, the impact of Sharp's crimes continues to this day.
We hope this exploration has shed some light on this really complex and disturbing case. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. If you've been affected by the themes discussed today, please remember that there are resources available to help. You can find information on our website.
And remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about the dark side of human nature, the better equipped we are to recognize warning signs and potentially prevent future tragedies.
Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and most importantly, take care.